Hi, we're here today with Rich Carter. Rich is part of our Arizona Drag Racing Legends group. Rich is a longtime resident of Arizona, drag racer extraordinaire, got a lot of great stories. He's also a member of the Arizona Drag Racing Hall of Fame. We're going to talk about Rich and see what floated his boat, how he got started into drag racing, how did it get going. So, how are you today?
I'm doing pretty good.
Not too bad, huh?
Uh-huh.
When did you, let's go back to I like to go back to this beginning. When did you first fall in love with drag racing?
Okay.
What got you going?
Well, back in 1964-65, Ray, my brother, and I, we just decided, hey, we want to get into racing. We'd been going to the racetracks, but just as spectators. And we didn't know what we wanted to get into. We were just looking around. And then we went down to Larry Steineger's shop, and they had a complete dragster frame, and it was just sitting over in the corner. We asked them if it was for sale. Yeah, $125. We got a complete frame with a rear end, no third member, no engine, no nothing. We threw it on a trailer and took it home. And basically, that's pretty much, okay. We were going out to Mel Larson's at the time, but Beeline was starting to come in, American Hot Rod Association. So Ray went and bought a book. We started building for American Hot Rod Association rules. And pretty much, he was one, he knew all of the racers. Anybody that had a spare part, what do you want for it? Is it free? That kind of stuff. And we actually put a car together in about 1 year's time by scrounging everything we could find.
What was the car? What was the engine? Tell me about it.
Okay, the car was a C-gas dragster. American Hot Rod Association rules. 310 cubic inches or a little bit lower, you were C-gas. So we went out and we bought a Mickey Thompson 301 kit. Found a Bear Block 327. That's where it got started. Then went around and found some racing heads. Took those down to John Scott's and had him go through the heads, put them together, put the whole thing together. Found a 1938 LaSalle transmission. And that's what most of the racers were using. We matched that all up. We actually built our own bell housing. Went out and bought aluminum, 40-some, pretty hard stuff. And took it down, had it rolled, and then had a guy weld the whole thing together. He put it into his oven, got it hot, took it out, welded on a little bit, put it back in the oven. And then the dragster had a bent front end. It was the springs across the front end. My understanding is it went through, took lights out somewhere over in California. So we had to replace those. Still had the wheels on it, what have you. And then we started hunting around, trying to find slicks. Couldn't find slicks. So we went to a place that did tires and asked them if they could actually make a racing slick. And they actually did, made an 8.5-inch wide racing slick for us. Worked pretty good. Back in those days, the hotter they got, the better they would stick to the ground. And we ran like that until we could afford a little something better.
So the deal is, back when you started, there weren't mail order plazas, there weren't speed shops like they are now, or they were. Yeah. If you wanted something to really be in drag racing, you've got to make a lot of parts.
Well, in there I met up with Everett Gusick, and he was giving us parts at cost, but that was really a speed shop with a lot of chrome, that kind of stuff. Didn't really have a lot of I guess you'd say, off-the-shelf racing parts. I don't think anybody had that. So we ran out of his shop. My first car had the Goosey logo on it. And then, like I said, we started out scrounging. The first ones was two 57 Chevrolet 4-bells, the AFBs. That's where we started with. Then we took them off and we put on a Holly, the big 650, put that on. And then, I don't know, Ray ran across a set of injectors and we put those on. So that's how we built up, little by little by little. And the injectors didn't make the car go any faster, but it made it more consistent. And that's where we started running. We could run, on a loose track, we'd run in the low nines at about 150, 55 miles an hour. If we got onto a tight track, we could run down in the high eights at about 160. As a matter of fact, we own the speed record at Beeline at 164 miles an hour, and nobody had been able to reset it because Beeline went out of business. American Hot Rod Association went out of business.
So you retired the record.
So I still have the record.
So you were the driver.
Ray was the mechanic.
So do you remember your first passes in the car?
Kind of like Ray said, do whatever you can. It may be the first and the last pass. We had no idea if that engine was going to hold together anything.
Do you remember how do you feel? I mean, you.
Oh, I thought it was great. Ray took the car one time, and he actually matched my ET. And then he never stepped inside the car again.
He said he'll do the tuning, you do the driving. And, his part. Brought the Carter brothers.
He was an excellent mechanic.
Yes.
He was one of the people that could read a book or a magazine and understand what they were talking about. I could read it 20 times and still wonder what the hell they were talking about.
He was Ray was another good friend, and absolutely he was the magic that made a lot of cars run.
Oh yeah.
So this car, how long did you run this car?
I ran with the car until 1973, and then for personal reasons, I had to get out. I told Ray, the car's yours. We had a new partner, Scott Dodd at that time, and I walked away from it. Pretty much. I kind of got back with him off and on, but I had a daughter to raise, so she came first. Car, I could not expect to go out to the racetrack and have everybody else watch my kid for me. That would not be fair to anybody.
Well, you're a good man. With the car, what tracks did you race at? Do you remember the different tracks?
Oh, we ran at Mel Larson's, out at Beeline, down at Tucson. What was it, up at Holbrook? They had a track up there. We pretty much well stayed within Arizona with that car.
Okay.
And then once Ray's youngest son, Dean, he kept the car, even though Scott Dodd left. He'd have anybody that was a good driver occasionally just drive the car. He'd enter races. And then when Dean became of age and started in, pretty much, well, Dean took over the whole thing as far as money and driving.
So it's in the blood.
Oh yeah. Ray, just before he passed away, finally had told Dean he was done with the car, and I can understand it. He'd been with that car, 40, 50 years, and it was time for him to retire.
Well, since Ray's no longer with us, the part of this is Ray was quite the tuner and tuned Dean to NHRA championships, won Wallies with the car.
Oh, you'd have to go back to Dean and find out on all that. What was it? He said that they had won 27 some big races, 4 or 5 bigger type races, and another number of them. He had all kinds. He had a whole wall full of trophies. Like I said, because I kind of got away from it, I didn't keep up. I didn't bug him. It was his thing.
He was quite the guy.
Yeah.
And
Dean,
so.
Dean's a good salesman. Makes a lot of money doing that. He figured out the only way to really make a winning streak was to go have a professional engine built. Ray and I, we did our best. What can you say?
Mm-hmm.
But take it to this machine shop, take it over to this something or another, and we put together. I think we figured out at one time that 301 was putting out about 600 horsepower.
That's quite 2 horsepower per cubic inch. It's quite
but one of
something.
our big drawbacks, we had a magneto, points and condenser. At 6,000 RPM, it'd start floating. So, like I said, about 155, 160 miles an hour, that's pretty much well as fast as the car would go.
So back to your day with racing with Ray, brother Ray. Did you have any rivals?
Oh yeah, we had a couple of them. Jack Dare. I'm not too sure. I think Jack Dare went over to California and bought a car just to come over and beat us. His car could make 5 passes. Then you had to change the clutch on it. And it would run somewhere around 170, 180. He'd walk away from us. But the only person that he ever got was Dave Settles. I think the way I understand it, Dave Settles ran into Jack Dare's car and bent it. So in order to pay off the damages, he agreed to drive the car until another young kid was coming up and training. And he did. Jack Dare beat us one time. And then things happened. Car running out of dynamic machine with the engine in sideways. They crashed it, and the driver was the young kid for Jack Dare.
Dennis Weary? That was Dennis Weary?
And that pretty much well ended. Jack Dare and all of those guys said no more. They gave it up.
That was the walk-away point for them.
Uh-huh.
So when you raced, did you like one track over the other? Or did you say, we own this track, this is our track, or do you feel that way? The Carter brothers feel that way whenever they showed up that you're going to win?
You know, Beeline was our closest one. So we'd do that. But at the same time, Tucson had a pretty good track down at that time. Occasionally, like I said, went up to Holbrook. That was kind of a long ways to go. Mm-hmm. And both Ray and I, we both had families, so trying to go outside of Arizona, not really in our setup. We had jobs. We had to support a family.
So I remember about Ray, as he was definitely the dad and the family guy, and you much the same for when you walked away from the sport as far as driving, but it's in your blood still.
Oh yeah.
You still enjoy it. What's your takeaway? What do you remember the best about your racing career?
Oh, anytime I won, which was we won our fair share of what have you. Competition came and went. Most of them that we went against, we could put them down. We had one big one out at Beeline. Actually, it was their time that Jim Rogers was managing. We got up to runner-up on that. I red lighted, and basically I got a little over anxious. But I was putting the cars away because I was good enough, knew the lights. We weren't running right on our record, but they were, let's hold back a little bit. That was their mistake.
I also remember I wasn't there, but I was in my earlier part in drag racing. I ran into a guy named Joe McKee, and I remember that before I became friends with Joe, that you had driven his car a few times.
I drove for Joe pretty much for a year. There was a couple of things on that. First part, Joe had bought a car, but he didn't have the money to keep it running and running properly. Because of that and a few others, I think I was a little shy of going all out on it. So pretty much, well, we ran, and we ran for about like I said, about a year. And then he asked another person who was more used to a top fuel dragster to take it. And I said, okay, and I walked away from it at that time.
But it was your top fuel days. You were the top fuel shoe. Do you remember the first, the flames being bigger? Or the,
yeah. Yeah. It gives you a thrill. Basically, you go down and it vibrates so bad that everything just becomes white or black. So, I think my top speed in that car was around 230. We did take it back to Indianapolis, and we made a pass in it. I think that was 707 at about 190 some miles an hour, and it burnt 3 holes in 3 pistons. So we spent the entire night putting a whole new engine back together. Next day we went out, we put it on the rollers, hit the switch to start it, nothing. We did that pretty much well for the whole half a day, I guess you'd say. Finally, we figured out there was a broken wire in the mag. We fixed that, put it on the rollers, started it, warmed it up. We went and got mine. I think we were about 5 or 6 sets of cars back. And we were waiting and waiting. And they'd say, okay, top fuel, suit up. We all put on our suits, we all jump in, it'd rain. Okay, so get out of the car, take the suit off, do the whole thing. They'd run cars up and down the track, dry it out, run a few cars through, make sure everything was good. We get the word, top fuel, suit up. We all suit up, we all get in, it'd rain again. We actually left because we were not able to make another pass. Sneaky Pete Robson was on the bump, and he had an engine split. So he was back in the pits doing a war dance to get rain. Anybody that had gone down the track would have bumped him out, and he didn't have an engine to run with.
That's a great memory. Yeah, he was quite the unique racer in himself. A lot of good stories about him and his engineering and how light his cars were. But did you run any? That was an NHRA race. Did you run any other NHRA races with Joe, or was that just going to Indy?
We went up to Denver.
Okay.
We went over to Long Beach a couple of times. Like I said, we went back to Indianapolis. That was pretty much well it as far as that deal. Like I said, Joe was good. He would go around and talk to all of the people who had parts, but he didn't have the money to put into the car. They have Chris Lane. Chris Lane was being the mechanic and what have you. Like I said, we were running around. Joe had I can't remember the exact year, late 1957 Chevrolet half-ton pickup. And one time we took off with a race car trailer, a complete Chrysler engine in the back of the truck, about 30 gallons of nitromethane alcohol, and a couple of toolboxes. And we go down the road and tire blow out. We go to a junkyard, get another tire, go on down the road, another tire blow out. he needed a bigger truck.
He was quite. I remember the car. Back in the days, people had cowl art. You know, on the cowls, you all had different drawings and stuff. I remember it was up in smoke, and there was a guy shoveling money into a furnace. You know, that basically was a good way to turn dollars into horsepower. That was Joe's up in smoke dragster. Any other things you remember that people you along the way that you kind of.
No, that was pretty much it. A lot of the people that were out at the racetrack, I've been away from them so long that I've kind of lost their names. Is Everett Goosey, his wife, and the Goosey brats.
Yeah, the
of
brats.
Course.
Yeah.
They're always around.
Yeah, well, those guys are they're okay, right? Yeah, they do their best. It's been great talking with you. You know, the famed Carter brothers racers. Really, one of the things we see from these interviews is that you and Ray got interested. You jumped in the car. You stepped out. Other people got in the car. They drove. They learned. Some people went off, did other things. Eventually, Dean got in the car. Dean went on, did a lot of things. But the Carter name in Arizona since the '60s has been a key name in drag racing, and it's something that the family.
Yeah, we kept it pretty much in the family, and as far as I know, Dean's still running the car. Last I heard of, he blew 2 engines, and he was looking to buy a whole brand new car. He wasn't going to mess around with rebuild or something, just buy a new one.
It's gone on to his son is now driving the car as well.
Yeah.
Yep. So it's been great having you here today, and the stories are awesome. Thank you so much for your time, and congratulations on being an Arizona drag racing legend. It's your.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.